Um, yeah, it feels almost one of those updated versions of those, and I'm not saying this is one of those terrible R&B songs that we got from the 90s and the noughties that had a mandatory slice of hip hop or rapping to lend the fairly awful song some secondhand credit. Um, and thanks a bunch, P. Diddy. Um, it's a shame you haven't been held accountable for that particular crime as of yet. Um,
among others.
Hey, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Audiophiles. Yeah. My name's John. His name is Andy. Brains on a brick wall when gender bombs they fall. The sordid way her loaded phrases infiltrate your skull. More on that later. But first, what have you got for us today, Andy?
Today what I have in store is an artist named Corbin, and the track by
Jeremy?
Corbin. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. You knew it. The track by Corbin is a tune called Something Safe.
Yeah,
Well,
he rose in ranks, and then he fought a general election against Boris Johnson and recorded a record landslide win for the Tories. So yeah, he did well, and I can just picture him
successful.
doing some sort of sea shanty with a finger in his ear. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
Yes. Great. I can't wait to hear your reaction and maybe your disappointment when you return. So
Okay,
this has been.
will do. It's a really interesting start. It's nice, these delicate little notes from the keyboard sort of dropping, and some of them were sustained, they're like ripples moving out and activating other ones. It was a very gentle and thoughtful sort of intro. It's nice. And then in comes this, almost sounds like a pre-programmed shuffle. Um, fair enough. And we get a sort of like on the main keyboard, a sort of four or five, I think 4-note melody, 5-note melody. Yeah, sounds pleasant enough. Let's see how it goes. In the corner of my eye, I watched you sleeping so quiet. Oh, maybe just right. Wrap up is freezing outside. Hold my hand so tight. Don't know what's creeping at night. Oh, come inside. No one else is here. You're mine. You're mine. And right, so that's interesting. I was trying to give him a bit of a going to, because his voice is slightly different. And there's plenty of people's voices that are slightly different. I enjoy. Stuart Staples, Tenor Sticks. It took me a long time to get used to Tom Waits' voice. I guess I was too young when I first heard it. Just didn't appreciate the raspy part of his career anyway. But this is weird. It's got an odd strangulation to it. Like Stuart Staples, it sounds like adenoids are playing up. But this one is this strangulation, but not of the throat, of the mouth almost. Or yeah, it's almost like it's restricted in his lip or mouth movement when he's singing it, which just sort of comes out a bit. It's interesting. So I heard him start off corner of my eye, something like that, and then I was just listening to the sounds rather than the words. The music's quite beautiful, but it's a little bit ponderous, and it stops and then starts again. So it's in danger of becoming almost feels like an effort, rather than this sort of thoughtful piece, which I think what he's trying to get at. Whatever the theme is, I think it's sort of heartfelt, thoughtful, whatever it is. But yeah, and then it went into this bit here where he was almost warbling, and yeah, that was really interesting. So I'm just going to pull that back. See.
Such a long time, there's not a soul for my life.
Yeah, what I just heard there, but I think that was, I don't know if that was a chorus or what it was, but he went into full sort of warbling mode, and it sounded like he'd just come out of the dentist with a gob full of, what do they use, Novocaine, lidocaine, or whatever it is. I mean, you could almost hear like drawl coming out of his mouth then. There's no enunciation there at all. If that's what he's going for, that's fair enough. It's just an interesting choice. But then it's sort of like doodle stops again. Then we're like put another 50p in the meter, and it started up again. And as clear as fucking day. Lived alone for such a long time. He sang that the contrast was like immense. And that's what happens when he's trying to emphasize emotion. Interesting. Strange. I'm just going to pull that back again. Really sorry. So it was. Let's go about here. Of course, it's about here somewhere. At this point, they're no longer words. It sort of sounds of a distressed animal or something, I think.
Lived alone for such a long time. There's not a soul for my life. Feel my heart, what you find. Oh, it's too quick, this can't be right. From where I stand tonight, the sinking feeling feels just fine. Lay your head down,
It's interesting that normally people have that sort of local anesthetic, it wears off. It doesn't wear back. It feels like it's getting less and less intelligible as this verse goes on. But yeah, the film such a long time. There's not soul for miles. Fill my heart. What do you find? So it's interesting about isolation. It's just something about a sinking feeling as well, but it feels just fine. Yeah, so there's definitely some, affair of the heart that he's referencing, and isolation's a thing as well. That's about as much as I'm getting out of this. I do find his voice interesting. I'm not saying I dislike it. I just think this music, which is quite pretty, especially the keyboard parts, I like that. I think the sort of the rhythm to it is the stop start stuff. It's a bit not tortured, but it's a bit laboured. That's the word. And it doesn't do him any favours, I don't think. The two combined, his voice and this, it doesn't quite work. I was kind of thinking, I wonder what his sound like with some organic, like strings or something behind it. I think it'd be really interesting. And yeah, it's sort of like Elizabeth Fraser. You don't try to work out what the hell the words are they're singing. You just enjoy the sounds. I think you should go full hog one way or the other. And if you're getting more unintelligible, the more emotional he gets, that's fine. Or just leave out the stuff where you can actually understand it and be consistent. But yeah, it's interesting. It's interesting.
I make myself sick, I feel worry, I feel darkness, I hold you tight, share the stories of a hardship, black fills the night, please don't slip, the sun will come again.
Plot twist, bit of the old rapping at the end. Interesting. He sounded kind of West Coast, sort of early Ice Cube type sound to him. It's all right. It's all right. It's that just made me put in mind of those god awful R&B songs that were Legion and then noughties in particular. I think. I guess late 90s as well. Yeah, late 90s and early noughties, where there's these shitty songs dressed up as R&B, and they would have to have some sort of rap or hip hop element to it to almost give secondhand credibility. Yeah, thanks a bunch, P Diddy, for that. Oh, awful. Yeah, kind of. So is this modern R&B? I don't know. Yeah, it just didn't quite work. The two things, the two elements. It's not even the music I liked. I didn't particularly like the pacing of it, or the stop start, or the sort of labouredness to it. And I think working with the voice, it just didn't do it any favors. It made the voice sound a bit sort of laboured. And I mean, do you know what was popping through my head? Listen to this. Is this how Andy hears Morrissey? But I liked his voice. It was interesting. I would probably just like it in a different setting, as it were. I don't know. First listen and all that. Might grow to love it. But yeah, it didn't it didn't seem to work for me. But it's interesting. Let's find out more about Corbin. It's good to know that he's doing something after being kicked out of the leadership of the Labour Party. Who'd have guessed it would be this? Let's find out more by going back and speaking with Andy.
All right, so you are back somewhere safe. What did you think of Something Safe by Corbin?
Okay. So it starts off with these delicate synth keyboard notes, and there are little drops into a pool of sound. And some of them are bigger than others, and they sustain, and their ripples move and activate other smaller notes. It's really nice and very thoughtful, delicate opening. And then in comes the beat. Now, on old school organs, like the Yamaha my elderly neighbors had when I was a kid, there'd be these pre-programmed beats, you know, samba, bossa nova, rumba, macrame, antimacassar, raljacks, for example. For the modern keyboard, I think they've updated it. I would call this one waiting room shuffle. So we get these ponderous beats where I don't know if you're waiting for an update on your MRI or just your speeding ticket, but we get these ponderous beats and then the sounds of somebody training to be a barista, all steam huffs and sighs coming through. And a simple 4 or 5 note melody from the synth continues along, and the singer enters. It's really nice atmosphere, and again, it's very thoughtful and ponderous, but in a good way. So yeah, nice setup. Then in he comes. He has a interesting voice. To be honest, the sort of timbre of his voice fascinated me so much that I think it was in the corner of my eye, the first line. And then after that, it was all sound and no language for me for quite a while. As somebody who has adored Stuart Staples, the lead singer of Tindersticks, from the first note I heard, but also someone who took 10 years to warm to the raspier section of Tom Waits' output, you know, I do like an interesting and characterful voice, and quite often my complaint is that some voices don't have any character to them. But I found his voice really interesting. In the early parts of the song in particular, where he's at lower energy, there's an odd strangulation to his pronunciation, but it's not strangulation in his throat, like, you know, you get with some things. It's within almost his mouth shapes. It didn't sound quite like it's opening up. Really, really interesting to listen to. I say I liked it. I didn't dislike it. So it's not a criticism. It's just trying to describe how it lay in my ears. Around the 140 mark, the beat cuts for a couple of bars, and then it goes into a warbling mode. And there's something about want, and I'll give it to you. But honestly, at this point, it kind of has the delivery of somebody who's just had a face full of lidocaine or novocaine or whatever. You can almost picture the drawl. I think that was the chorus. And again, it's fascinating. And I think I said in the reaction, at some points, you can just give up with certain singers like Elizabeth Fraser, you know, Cocteau Twins, where their voice is an instrument. You just, you know, appreciate it for what it is. But there's a bit that pissed me off is then it drops and the next verse came in. As plain as day, I hear "lived alone for such a long time," like he was reading it straight off an auto cue. And I was really almost in shock how intelligible it was compared to the lines 10 seconds before. It was just really, really amazing. It was so much so that I was like, I had to rewind it. I almost missed the following lines, which are all really discernible as well. There's not a soul for miles, feel my heart, what do you find? So I got from this, there's some sort of idea about, so clearly this is, as I thought, some sort of introspective song, perhaps about relationship, definitely about isolation and other stuff. And that's as much as I got. But then the delivery through this verse becomes slowly more and more muddled as it goes on, muddied as it goes on. And it's interesting, I was saying, when people have these sort of local anesthetics, the effects wear off. They don't wear up, you know.
That's
But it's just
or
it's
ebb
part of
and
the charm.
flow. It's like it
Yeah,
goes
yeah,
one way,
it
yeah, like he's
does.
doing
It
here.
does. It's part of the charm, and it sounds like I'm being critical, and honestly, I'm really enjoying it still. It's fine, but it's just funny. So yeah, but I am starting to think at some point that the music, which I really like, and his voice, which I really like, don't work for me in this combination. And I was starting to wonder how his voice would sound against some organic sounds like strings or whatever. And I think this is the bit which I sort of cemented for me, because you get this bit where, particularly during the verse and stuff, where it kind of stops and then restarts, and it goes from this ponderous to almost being a little bit sort of labored in terms of like keeping the song going. And I think the way he delivers it as well can make him sound a little bit, the underlaying of the music can make his voice sound a bit labored as well. And I even had this thought at one point: is this how Andy hears Morrissey? That was a kind of reciprocal thought I had. And I clearly love Morrissey anyway, and I'm sure you like this, or you wouldn't have put it forward to
Of
me.
course, yeah, yeah.
And I didn't dislike it in the way you dislike Morris's voice, but I just didn't think this did him any favor. And I imagine it's all just him, you got the idea from Corbin that it's a one-man band.
Yeah.
And it must be the easiest thing to do is put it together within a synthetic context of keyboards and replicate stuff. But I just don't think this did him any favors. It wasn't terrible, don't get me wrong. It just didn't quite work for me on that. And then, as I'm musing all this, after the chorus, plot twist. We then get a rapper taking us out. And unless your man has had a big sort of conversion on the road to Damascus, I suspect it's a different artist. And he feels, it feels almost one of those updated versions of those. And I'm not saying this is one of those terrible R&B songs that we got from the 90s and the noughties that had a mandatory slice of hip hop or rapping to lend the fairly awful song some secondhand credit. And thanks a bunch, P. Diddy. It's a shame you haven't been held accountable for that particular crime as of yet.
Among others.
I will get into that, but yeah. So this rapper, he has a West Coast voice. It's kind of like not dissimilar, not terribly similar, but not dissimilar to like early Ice Cube. It's that sort of sound and that sort of what's the word for a better word? A little bit of sort of like intellectual outrage in his voice. I quite like that. I'm a big fan of Cube anyway, so but it's a strange, what came before. It's a strange choice the last 30 seconds of song, but he takes us to the end of it. So yeah, overall, I really liked the two elements. I just didn't think they worked together. For me, anyway.
Interesting.
No, didn't work's probably too strong. They didn't do each other justice, I'm saying. So I'd be really interesting. There's clearly some talent there, and I'd be really interested to hear something else. Whether this is representative as all of his stuff sounds like this, or there's something that's slightly different, but I'd be very interested to hear. Because it definitely piques my interest.
Yeah. Let me get into him a bit. So Corbin Beckner Smidzik, born February 20th, 1998. Holy shit, we're old.
That's his first name.
Yeah, Corbin is his first name.
Poor bastard.
Yeah, there's a few of them over here. Corbin Burnson comes to mind, the actor.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly. It's not that uncommon. But yeah, he's known mononymously as Corbin and formerly as Spooky Black and Little Spook. He's an American rapper, singer, songwriter, and record producer. He was a member of the hip hop and R&B collective The Stanford. And as Corbin, he has released 3 studio albums: Mourn in 2017, Ghost with Skin in 2021, and Crisis Kid this year, 2025. So, Smidzig gained popularity on the internet through a series of solo releases on the website SoundCloud. His first released, Forest, was put out in late 2013 and exhibited a hip hop sound with Smidzig rapping on every song, in contrast to his later and more recognized R&B stylized singing. By 2014, Smidzig was gaining mass exposure with the help of SoundCloud and YouTube. The video for the song Without You from the mixtape Black Silk, released in February of 2014, went viral, attaining more than 1 million views on video sharing websites YouTube and World Star Hip Hop. Publication Noisy declared the video an instant classic and published an article titled "Is Spooky Black Going to Take Over the R&B Game?" While Consequence of Sound and Complex magazine named Without You one of the best songs of 2014. Smidzig is noted for releasing his material without promotion and has frequently declined requests for interviews. In August 2014, he released the EP Leaving and a music video for its track DJ Khaled Is My Father. By October, Smidzig was being managed by Canadian producer Doc McKinney. In December, he premiered the song Worn under his new name Corbin. On Twitter, Smidzig's reason for the name change was because Spooky Black is a dumb name. Also in 2014, Smidzig and fellow Minnesota musicians Alan Kingdom, Bobby Raps, and Simon formed the hip-hop/R&B group, the aforementioned The Stanford. They released their self-titled debut album in November of 2014, produced entirely by the group and the aforementioned Doc McKinney. During November of 2014, Corbin and the Stanford embarked on a U.S. tour, which included a gig at SOB's in New York City, where they were introduced by DJ Khaled. The group ended up selling out all 7 of the shows on their debut headlining tour. After the release of Couch Potato with Bobby Raps in 2015, Smidzig remained quiet and rarely did performances for 2 years. On January 16th of 2017, Smidzig unexpectedly uploaded a song, Destroy, onto his SoundCloud. Less than 2 weeks later, he announced on Twitter that himself, Shlomo, and D33J will be going on a North American tour later in the year. Later on August 24th, Smidzig announced his debut album, Mourn, which was released on September 5th of 2017 on Shlomo's record label, We Did It. In American recording artist Janet Jackson's State of the World tour, she used the song Idol from Corbin's Leaving EP as a video interlude playing the song What About. On January 1st of 2019, Corbin began releasing singles to his SoundCloud page. The first to be released was Wretch as a New Year's gift to fans. Over the course of the year, Wretch was followed by several more singles, both new and unreleased. In 2020, as a response to losing access to his Spotify account, Corbin started uploading previous SoundCloud uploads to a new Spotify page under his name, Corbin Smidzig. Included in these uploads is a previous version of his album Mourn, simply titled Mourn 2016. On July 24th, 2020, Corbin was featured on the Kid Leroy's song Not Fair from his debut mixtape Fuck Love. Corbin also appeared in the accompanying music video released the same day. The song was certified gold in Australia by the ARIA in 2021. Later that same year, he released his album Ghost with Skin. And March 12th of this year, Corbin debuted the single Come Down, along with an announcement that he would be releasing a new album entitled Crisis Kid. The album officially dropped on April 3rd, 2025. The track I had you check out today features on his first album under his new moniker, the aforementioned Mourn. The album is primarily an alternative R&B album, a loose concept album. It follows a recluse who moves to a cabin in the woods with his lover because the current state of affairs in the country, sort of this doomsday, escaping the apocalypse kind of motif. He later dies in a plane crash, and his lover moves back home and dies herself not long thereafter. Isolation, as you mentioned, and anger are some of the album's main themes as the narrator struggles between affection and control. Corbin was influenced by the Kate Bush song Running Up That Hill, post-punk, new wave, and electronic music duo Drexcia during the creation of this album. The heavier delivery of his vocals, including throaty screams, was influenced by black metal bands like Dark Throne and Hellhammer. A really interesting cocktail of influences on this interesting project by this young man. The album's opening track, Ice Boy, is a synth pop influenced track that grows from a proclamation of love to a cry for closeness. Revenge Song is about giving a rapist retribution. All Out evolves from synthline to a mix of loud drums and cowbells. The instruments on tracks such as Something Safe create an echo-like effect that you probably heard. Pat Levi, or Levy, of Pitchfork, rated the album a 6.8 out of 10, however praising the production, but noting that Corbin still needs to grow in his lyrical content. Anthony Fontano over at the Needle Drop rated the album a 7 out of 10. Music journalist Hannah Wisterman reviewed the album for KTSW and wrote, "Having listened to Corbin's prior work as Spooky Black and then listening to Mourn, it's clear why it took 2 years to get new material. Corbin needed time to grow up. One of the most notable impressions listeners get from the album is that Corbin has learned how to give a song structure and backbone. He's moved from hazy, atmospheric jams to tracks with clarity. It's like Corbin is coming out from behind the curtain and proving that he can be as dynamic as he is moody. Moodiness is something that Corbin has never lacked. And from the sound of Mourn, it's something he will not run out of soon. Like many artists, it seems that everything he feels deeply." She would add, using this moody approach, Corbin outlines what Pitchfork calls a loose narrative about trying to outlive the apocalypse with a lover. The relationship with this lover is complicated in and of itself. But dying in a plane crash before the end times come. It's heavy stuff, but listeners wouldn't expect anything less from such an emotionally turbulent musician. At 19, you wouldn't expect Corbin's vocals to stand up to the tasks of such a story. But for the most part, he pulls it off. Another trophy of his burgeoning maturity. In his Spooky Black years, Corbin had hid his voice under distortion and shoegazy washes, but in Couch Potato, he had begun to cultivate fuller timbre and depth. It's clear that he's only built on this since. So, let's get into these lyrics. "In the corner of my eye, I watched you sleeping so quiet. Oh baby, just right. Wrap up, it's freezing outside. Hold my hand so tight. Don't know what's creeping at night. Come inside. No one else is here. You're mine. You're mine. And all I want, I'll give it to you. I'm falling so hard. And you can see right through me. Lived alone for such a long time. There's not a soul for miles. Feel my heart and what you find. Always too quick. This can't be right. From where I stand tonight, this sinking feeling feels just fine. Lay your head down nice and slow. Do whatever you like. You're mine. You're mine. And all you want, I'll give it to you. I'm falling so hard. And you can see right through me. I see the light in you. Together our skin bonded. We moving as one through the storm. Can you feel me on lonely nights? that's not as warm. While I'm stuck somewhere far as fuck. Work, then I'm torn. I make myself sick. I feel worried. I feel darkness. I hold you tight. Said the stories of a hardship. Black fills the night. Please don't slip. The sun will come again. So, the lyrics of Corbin's song Something Safe convey a sense of longing, vulnerability, and a deep connection with someone. The opening lines set the scene describing the singer watching someone sleeping peacefully, emphasizing their delicate state and the need for warmth and protection. The repetition of the phrase you're mine, highlights the intensity of their feelings for this person. The chorus expresses a willingness to give everything to this person, suggesting strong emotional attachment and desire to fulfill their needs. The line, I'm falling so hard and you can see right through me, reveals the singer's vulnerability and the sense that this person has the power to see them completely, both their strengths and weaknesses. The second verse explores the solitude the singer has experienced for a long time, emphasizing that isolation that you had mentioned. However, the meeting with this person brings a change in their heart and suggests a feeling of hope and belonging. The lines, the sinking feeling feels just fine, lay your head down nice and slow, imply that despite the uncertainty, being with the person feels right, and they are willing to allow the relationship to develop at its own pace, giving the other person the freedom to do as they please. And the final stanza brings a contrast between the light and the warmth of the singer's connection with this person and the darkness and hardship they together face. The mentioning of being stuck somewhere far as fuck and feeling torn between work and obligation showcases the challenges they experience. However, they find solace in holding on to this person tightly, believing that the stories of hardship will eventually fade away and the sun will come again. But as we know, given the spoiler alert, his character dying in a plane crash and her not making it through this apocalypse, as few people really ever do, it's not all happy ending, and the sun perhaps doesn't actually come out in the long run. But yeah, it's a really interesting, super atmospheric song, and if I'm in the right state of mind, popping on Mourn and just vibing out to some of these weird sounds and also the weird cross-pollination of some of the genres that he taps into for this stuff, as exemplified or suggested by the influences that we're going from Kate Bush to Hellhammer, you know what I mean? Like there's a lot of shit in between that too. So all of that is just really interesting for me. And like as a 19-year-old, or however the fuck old he was when he started writing this shit during that 2-year hiatus between Spooky Black and Corbin, a lot to seemingly more biting off more than you could chew for like a 17 to 19-year-old, who's doing this stuff. So hats off to him. It's ambitious, I think, as probably and correctly underscored by some of the critics. You could tell that they're jazzed to hear this dude and to hear what he's going to do, but they also understand there's some stuff that you need to iron out here because you're only 17 to 19 years old when you're cranking this shit out. So room for growth, but still interesting and just audacious to kind of embark on this kind of thing musically. So I've always admired it, as imperfect as the whole product might be of Mourn. There are these shots of really cool, interesting shit all throughout it. So it's definitely worth checking out. And I'm glad you took this recommendation from me and gave it a go, and we're able to maybe glean from it some of what I'm trying to describe here to you. So yeah, man, thanks for giving this a go. Maybe down the line, there's some other really good tracks by this gentleman as well.
I'd be interested to hear more.
Yeah. We want to zhuzh it up and pepper in some indie rock, post-punk stuff that we normally do. We tend to want to change in there and throw some variety. So maybe I'll do that. Or if anybody out there happens to tune into this and is a fan of Corbin, feel free to shout out some stuff that John might want to check out in the future, since his interest seems to be to some degree peaked here. And guys, if you haven't heard this, but this is the first time you stuck around, please let us know your thoughts of it down in the comment field below. If reminded you of any other artists, feel free to shout it out. there's an artist completely divorced of this sound that you'd like us to check out, you can pop it in this or any of our other videos. We'll add it for our Friday episodes where we devote those two songs suggested by you guys out there. Also, if you haven't, like, share, and subscribe, please. Any or all of those things go a long way to help us over here with the YouTube algorithm monster, getting us out to more people, bringing more suggestions in, and diversifying our listening experience. Hopefully that trickles down to help all of us out. Thank you so much, and hopefully John and I will catch all y'all in growing numbers on the next installment of the Audiophiles. We'll see you later, guys.